Hey YouTube fam, it's Lady Nadra here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. Let's get in real quick. We got a long video today. Hopefully it won't be too long. I'm trying to keep it at a minimum. That's what I'm speaking so fast. You know I don't talk fast. Listen, this video today is meant to be helpful. It's meant to give you tidbits of information that I didn't have as I walked through this past year, losing my father in September and my mom having Alzheimer's. I didn't have this information. From the time we got into this pandemic last March to now, I mean, my husband and I have been to upwards of maybe 25 funerals. You know, my husband pastors a church, for those of you who don't know, and, you know, we've just been to way too many funerals. It's just the bottom line, way too many funerals. I think the last number I heard for the death toll for COVID alone was over 4 million. That's not even including, you know, accidental death or death by disease or anything else, nothing else, you know. I mean, you know, just natural causes even. You know what I'm saying? It's just been way too much. So I wanted to do this video on estate planning just so that, you know I'm a beauty channel. I know we do a lot of beauty things. I haven't done that in a while, actually. So I don't know if I'm a beauty channel or not. But this is something that was helpful for me to find out. And as I've gone through things, I found out how things could have been in place to make it easier for me. And so I just want to share that with you. If you're okay with that, great, wonderful. Get you a pen and a pad and take you some notes. But if this is something that you're not into, I get it. I understand. But what I would say is that I know you know somebody that is. So share this video with them. Like, subscribe, comment, do all those wonderful things that we know to do on YouTube. And comment. Comment down below and let me know what you think. All right? So here we go. So my parents designated me as the one of my siblings to handle their business. So I am, my brother calls me POA. I'm power of attorney over my mother. A lot of times you only hear about power of attorney. That's really, I knew I had power of attorney. My mother told me that, and that's what I thought I needed. You know, was power of attorney over my parents. And I came to find out that power of attorney is really just the tip of the iceberg. I went to sit with Cicely T. Ray, attorney at law, to have her answer some questions for us. So the first question I had for her was, what exactly is estate planning? What's all involved? What is it? Okay.
Estate planning is a will, a trust, a healthcare directive, and a power of attorney. And instead of us listing each of those 4 items separately, you just call it one big umbrella of an estate plan.
So when somebody comes in and says they want an estate plan, they get all 4?
All 4 documents. And usually somebody comes in and says, I need a will. Mm-hmm. And from there, I say, okay, well, a will is one part or one aspect of an estate plan, but you would also need these other documents too, to assist you at time of death, but also during life. Some people just say,
why?
My parents are, getting up there in age, and I've been handling all of their business things. I go to the bank for them. I pay all of their bills. But last time I went to the bank, they wouldn't let me withdraw because I didn't take my mom with me. Well, that document that you need so that the bank will acknowledge that you're acting on behalf of your mom is a financial power of attorney. So that allows you to speak on her behalf with regard to her financial matters, taxes, bank accounts. It could be insurance.
Okay.
All of the big things, even retirement benefits and accounts. So you can give or designate authority for a person to speak on your behalf on particular matters, or it can be a general where they can just take over and do everything for you. Mm-hmm. Lawsuits as well. They could file lawsuits on your behalf. Mm-hmm. They could transfer items into your trust. So that's important that those things are happening during life. So it has application now.
But with power of attorney, once the person is deceased, your power of attorney doesn't work anymore. So just know that. So you said financial power of attorney. So then there's also a
healthcare
directive, and that's under the power of attorney umbrella,
it's considered a power of attorney, but it's designated as it relates to your health care. And so they call it a durable power of attorney for health care. So some people get it confused. They are two distinct documents, and they give you two distinct powers. So one is over finances, handle everything with the bank. The other is when a person cannot speak for themselves and they're in the hospital. And so this document, or a healthcare directive, a living will, so you may hear it called a living will, people, if they're unable to speak for themselves, can already determine or specify how they want to be treated in two very distinct situations. If they have a terminal condition, or if you are permanently unconscious. So if you're permanently unconscious, for lack of a better way to say it, you're a vegetable. You can't speak. The question is, do you want them to save your life at all costs? Or would you like them to do nothing and let you pass? So most people don't want to be vegetables. They just don't want to be laying in the bed day in and day out. So you can say, no, if I'm going to have no brain activity, I am a vegetable. I do not want any life-prolonging procedures.
Right.
The other context is if you have a terminal illness. You get in a really, really bad car accident. You know, you arrive at the hospital, you can't breathe, you can't speak for yourself. Do you want them to save you, or do you want them to do nothing?
Got it.
You want, and that's your choice.
Yeah.
And you can designate it. And your agent is the person that you appoint to speak on your behalf that says, she wouldn't want to ever be living on a ventilator as a vegetable. She said it right here, unplug her. Or this is a terminal condition. Another issue is like with cancer, with now the coronavirus. That's a terminal condition. You get there, you're unable to breathe on your own. Do they do everything to save you, or do they let you go? So it's big choices, and most people, of course, want all life-prolonging procedures if I have a terminal illness, and none if if I'm permanently unconscious.
Right.
But the choice is yours.
A friend of mine I was talking to her. She was calling to check and see how my parents were doing, how my dad was doing. This was before they went into the facility, and she works at a bank, and so she advised me, and this was the best advice for me. It was the best advice ever. I tell you, this made all the difference, because what happens is when someone passes away, their bank account, once the bank is notified that they have passed away, the bank will then freeze their account, and the family's not able to do anything with the money that is in the account. So what she advised me to do was to become co-owner of my dad's account. Well, my mom was co-owner, but my mother has Alzheimer's, so that was not going to be very helpful, So she told me to become co-owner on his account. We went down to the bank, made all those different changes. We took my mother off. She was still beneficiary of the account, but she was no longer co-owner. It was me and my father on there. And I became co-owner, and that way when I did call them and tell them he passed away, they were not able to freeze the account. What they did was just stop all of his automatic deductions. So that piece of advice, it saved me so much time that, because if I hadn't been, we had to close the account. It can get done, you can eventually, once you jump through all their hoops and all that kind of stuff, you can eventually get the money out of the account, but you kind of have to take some time. Yeah.
Now, what we do in an estate planning capacity is if you don't have people that you trust, and that is very, very important. Very, very important. That whomever you put on your account, or whomever you give that financial power of attorney to, they are basically you with a different face. They can do whatever you could do. You can spend up all your money, you can sell off all your stuff. They can do all of those things. So it has to be someone that you truly, truly trust.
Yes.
And when I'm doing my estate plans, I usually only do power of attorneys as between husband and wife.
Really?
Because kids, if they're too young, it's you. If this person now can walk into the bank and clear you out, and you gave them authority to do so.
Yeah.
And so, trusted person. I try to specify between husband and wife, especially when you're fairly younger. If you're our age and things, and your kids don't need to be all in the account today, you know.
Right.
And so what we do is we make the trust the designated beneficiary. So when you have a pay on death account, when the person dies, the trust becomes the beneficiary. So it goes directly to the funnels to the trust, opposed to a person.
Now, what's the difference in a will and a trust?
Okay. They are two separate documents.
Wow.
You can have a will without having a trust. And vice versa. You can have a trust without having a will.
Okay.
The reason why you want a will is for the state of California, and I can only speak to the state of California. When you die without a will, you die what's called intestate, meaning without a will. There's no directive of how your property should pass upon your death. So if you die without a will, there's a statutory code. It's called intestate succession. And so the laws spell out how your property will go if you don't have a will. If you die without a will, things first goes to your wife and kids. If you don't have any wife and kids, then it goes to your parents. If you have no parents, then it'll go to your brothers and sisters and on down the line. But your will determines it. What if you don't like your family? What if you don't want to leave 1 red cent to your child? That the only way that doesn't happen is that you have a will and you've prepared and you've designated who your actual beneficiaries are. And that can be family, or that could be people outside of your family,
their church, or things like that.
Charitable contributions and the like. And you can specify exactly dollar amounts, what charities it should go to, what people you want it to go to. And then the trust is a document that has application during life as well as death. So a lot of people have a misconception that a trust is something, a place, an item. Well, really, it's a piece of paper. So you draft a declaration of trust, which lists what you want to happen with your property in 2 situations. 1, if you are incompetent, meaning you no longer have the mindset to control the trust, and thereafter upon your death. So the trust is a probate avoidance mechanism.
Got it.
It's very important to avoid probate. If you have a will and no trust and own property, real estate, title, big bank accounts, big annuities, all of those things without a trust will have to go through the probate court to determine how much it is and who gets the distribution. And even within your will, if you spell out the people that get it, you still have to go through probate to get it transferred out of the deceased person's name and into the name of the people that are supposed to receive the property.
So the trust is
the paramount of most importance.
So Cicely just so wonderfully explained to us what an estate plan should include. So I suggest that you definitely heed to that. But let me add a few more things that I've experienced outside of the estate plan. I would include whatever, if your parents have a mortgage, and I'll just use my situation as an example. If with my parents' mortgage, once they stopped my father's automatic deductions, I wasn't sure if the house note was paid. And so I called, the mortgage company to see if the last payment was made, and they wouldn't even talk to me because we hadn't established who I was yet. You know what I mean? And she said, well, we need a letter along with the death certificate and the power of attorney, for my mother, because she's alive. Because once Cicely told us that once the person is deceased, that the power of attorney no longer is valid. So, but because my mother is still here, I'm her power of attorney. So they needed a letter to state that I was able to speak on behalf of the loan. And so what should have happened, or what could have happened, I'll say that. What could have happened is I could have had my dad call in and actually do that while he was alive. So I would suggest to you to do that with as many agencies as you can. Only one that wouldn't work on, I know, is Social Security, because Social Security doesn't even entertain power of attorney. So you have to use like birth certificates and marriage certificates and stuff like that. Like I'm trying to get my dad's last tax return done. So if I go from the angle of doing it for my mother, we would have to present the marriage certificate. If I go from the angle of being his daughter, I'd have to present my birth certificate, which has his name on it. So that's the only way that I could get his Social Security information. Okay, so there are a few things that I would suggest that you make sure you have in your possession. Order them now if you can. Birth certificates, marriage certificates. In my case, we needed letters from my mother's doctors, like 2 of them. They wanted 2 letters from 2 different doctors. I think that was a bank that wanted that. So you want letters from the doctor stating, why you're acting as power of attorney instead of, your parent, if they're alive. We don't like to talk about death before it happens, but if we can have these conversations with our parents or with our kids or with the people that you're expected to handle finances or financial matters for, if we could have these conversations, it would make things so much easier. And so I implore you guys to have these conversations with your loved ones, whoever. I'm not saying that what happened in my situation will work for you, but what I'm saying, or it will happen the way it happened for me, but what I am saying is find out what it is that you need to know before you're in this situation, because it's as easy as making a phone call to some of these agencies and getting this stuff set up, and it's done. You will need to invest in a fax machine, scanner, copier. They have the all-in-one. Get that. I got mine over here. I have set my beauty room. It's a beauty room on this side, and it's an office on this side. I promise there's so much to be done. It's tax season. I've got to, get their taxes done. I got to fax this in, fax that in. It's just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, moving parts. So this is my advice. Health directive, durable power of attorney, a will, revocable trust. I certainly hope you guys found this helpful, and please, if you have any questions, just drop it down in the comments below, and we can get your questions answered. If I can't answer them, then I will definitely find somebody that can, But at least we're having this conversation, and you guys can make your lives a lot easier by just talking through these things and kind of getting them settled beforehand, before you're in this emotional space and have to deal with so much. I mean, you only get a minute to cry. I hope this was helpful, and if you like this kind of video or you want to hear some more, let me know in the comments. All right, love you guys.